Greetings! In the previous videos, we had a brief overview of the 1C ERP applications, and now we are about to start learning them in more detail. Our course consists of 3 main stages and 1 additional. At the main stages, you will get acquainted with the functions of 1C ERP on the example of the hypothetical company SBS Trading and Manufacturing, which is a distributor for several manufacturers of heavy boats and sells them to stores and retail chains. At stage 1, we will look at the 1C ERP functionality, taking trading activities of the company SBS Trading and Manufacturing as an example. At stage 2, we will study the functionality used in the manufacture of the company. Stage 3 will be dedicated to the functions used for accounting, reporting, and finance management. As you progress through the course, you will have to take the quizzes, 2 parts at each stage. The course contains an additional stage appendix, in which you will find materials on administration of 1C ERP applications. To work out their acquired skills, you'll be offered to do practical assignments in 1C ERP demo database. So, at stage 1 of the course, you will study the 1C ERP functionality, taking trading business of the SBS Trading Company as an example, which is a distributor for several producers of heavy boats and sells them to stores and retail chains. At stage 1, you will learn which setups you need to do for a trading enterprise with an allocated regional pattern. Here we will have a look at planning of trade activities of the company, how to create sales and purchase plan. We will also look at the procurement processes, including purchase organization and fulfillment, and logistics processes and warehouse management. You will study processes for sales and delivery of goods to customers. Then, we will consider functions used in marketing, pre-sale activities, and customer relationship. In order to implement 1C ERP in a trading company, we first need to fill in the system with the data about the fictional company SBS Trading. We specify the legal entity data. Then we set up the organizational structure of the enterprise, the department hierarchy. The company has 2 warehouses, central warehouse and warehouse at the remote office. We will illustrate how to set up warehouses in 1C ERP. We'll tell you how to work with the product catalog. As an example, we'll take the products of the company SBS Trading, which sells several lines of heavy boats. The hypothetical company SBS Trading makes a monthly sales plan for a year ahead, taking into account seasonal factors. The purchase plan is built in accordance with the sales plan. We consider how to fill in the annual sales plan manually and then create monthly sales and purchase plan automatically. To do this, we'll be using the following key objects of the planning subsystem: plan scenario and plan profile. These are the system objects where plan fulfillment rules are defined. In our business case, goods are supplied as purchases from a supplier. The company has made an agreement with the heavy boat supplier based on which it places orders and pays invoices. We will look at the purchasing process in detail. To do this, we'll also need to enter the reference data, supplies data, agreements, contracts, and supplies price lists. Then we proceed with the sales process. We will generate a price list and set up a discount system. We will study pre-sale system features. We'll create a customer agreement. It's a system object used to record sales terms and conditions, such as payment schedule, shipment terms, and others. We'll consider the heavy boat sales process. Remote office receives and processes customer orders. While goods are stored in the central warehouse, we need to make a transfer order before shipping. Taking 2 warehouses, the central and the remote ones as an example, we'll consider 2 different warehouse management options: the advanced warehousing and non-advanced simplified warehousing. Moreover, we'll view the internal logistics of goods between warehouses and shipment of goods to a customer. Then we'll consider marketing functions. The fictional company SBS Trading will take part in the exhibition. At the exhibition, we'll find a potential customer. The pre-sale work with a potential buyer will result in making a transaction, and the customer will place an order for heavy boats. We will see how to set up mailing and SMS functions and other features which help to manage marketing activities. We'll study main reports to control marketing activities, including sales funnel. A bunch of lessons dedicated to CRM and marketing will finalize the first part of our course. Stage 2 of our course will be dedicated to the use of 1C ERP by a manufacturing company. We will see how the system helps to manage production processes. The company will get a new branch SBS Manufacturing with a new legal entity registered under the same title. The new branch will produce heavy boats in a full production cycle, from the production of the body frame to the assembly of the finished product. We'll consider reference data objects and setups needed to manage the production process. We'll have a look at the planning of the production orders and operations. We'll also look at the registration of the production operations and accounting of direct expenses, consumption of materials and labor. Furthermore, we'll examine supply chain planning mechanisms, inventory replenishment, material requirements planning, manufacturing resource planning. As for the manufacturing reference data, we will do the following. We'll create a product list which includes finished products and manufactured components, raw materials and services used during the manufacturing process. We'll have to set up the organization structure for manufacturing divisions of SBS Manufacturing, including production dispatching department, shop floor department, and warehouse. We consider the resource specification and the route map objects which are used to describe the product bill of material and manufacturing process, including stages and operations. As a part of the resource specification, we will see how to calculate the planned prime cost of the finished product. There are 3 stages within the planning of the manufacturing process in the SBS Manufacturing Company. First one is a master production schedule, and once ERP, it's called a production plan. To do this, we set up parameters needed for our production plan. Then, taking into account sales plan and sales order data, we create the production plan. Later on, we'll learn how to create production orders. The final stage is production scheduling. We will plan the production schedule taking into account the availability of materials, equipment, and human resources. We'll also consider the process of receiving orders for tolling from the client's materials. Then we'll proceed with a more detailed planning of the production process at the shop floor level. As we mentioned in the previous video, the production process in 1C ERP is planned step by step at 2 levels, enterprise level and shop floor level. After planning the production schedule in stages, we'll consider the most detailed level of production management within 1C ERP, the level of production operations. We will look at the functionality of manufacturing operations scheduling at the production schedule level. We'll learn how to register operation execution and the use of materials and labor. We will examine the fulfillment of production assignments without the order, the situation when the production activities weren't planned but fulfilled. We'll also study the case when our company deals with the processing company. We provide raw materials to a processor and receive manufactured components for our finished product, heavy boat. Moreover, in terms of production management functions, we'll consider the basic elements of manufacturing expenses used to calculate production cost. We'll discuss costing in more detail at stage 3. Besides direct production operations, we'll talk about additional production functions, often used by the companies which implement 1C ERP. We'll consider the assembly management. As an example, we'll take an assembly of complementary hoverboard pack of a special type. We'll see how to define the contents of the pack by using the pick list. And we'll also have a look at the assembly operations. Remember that our fictional company consists of two legal entities, SBS Trading and SBS Manufacturing. There is a special mechanism in 1C ERP which helps to simplify intercompany operations. We'll study the mechanism and its setup rules. We'll also examine repair planning and repair execution. You will learn how to plan repair activities for the manufacturing equipment based on the equipment operation time. We'll also study key manufacturing reports supplied within the standard functionality of 1C ERP. Within Stage 2, we have a look at demand fulfillment subsystem. It's a basic mechanism which allows planning the supply chain for materials and components according to the demand. We'll consider how to set up sourcing rules. The key sources in 1C ERP are purchases, production, and transfer from other locations or warehouses. We'll see how to set up a supply chain of materials and semi-finished products in various combinations, SKU plus warehouse where it's used. We'll consider the inventory replenishment system, taking the minimum-maximum method as an example. We will talk about the functionality of their MRP-DRP planning in 1C ERP. We'll see how to create orders needed to sustain supply level and meet an operational need for materials and components. Let's proceed with the lessons of Stage 3. Within Stage 3, we'll talk about the processes of financial management, control, and accounting. We will calculate and analyze the results of our fictional companies, SBS Trading and SBS Manufacturing. We will examine the functionality of the cash flow management, cash flow operating planning, preparation and creation of payments for suppliers, registration of customer payments, and reconciliation of bank statements. We will have a look at the operational accounting and get acquainted with the mechanism of closing the period in transaction registers. We will examine the mechanism of cost accounting and reporting. We'll also consider the mechanism of financial accounting in a general ledger and reporting. We'll study the budgeting subsystem. At the end of Stage 3, we will pay attention to Target Indicator Dashboard, that is a business intelligence instrument, which helps to monitor the activity of the company. Cash flow management functions will be presented in the following way. First, we'll study the setups required for working with the cash flow functionality. Then, we'll consider the mechanism of expenditure requests. We'll also look at the cash flow operational planning and generation of the payment schedule, also known as payment calendar. We will learn how to process the bank statement, create customer receipts, reconcile bank statement lines with payments, receipts, and other transactions. We will have a look at offsets of accounts receivable and payable, and debt reliefs. We'll consider planning and accounting for loans and deposits. We will also pay attention to expense reports. In 1C ERP, documents and operations are initially recorded in the operational accounting registers. We'll review the concepts of the operational accounting in 1C ERP. We'll get to know the setups required for the operational accounting. We'll consider how the different groups of business operations, such as material transactions, general expenses, fixed assets, are recorded in the operational accounting registers. Then we'll examine the production costing functionality. Then you'll learn how to perform the month-end closing. We'll see how to calculate a financial result and generate operational profit and loss statements taking the SBS Trading and SBS Manufacturing companies as an example. Then we'll get to know how to create a draft balance sheet statement using operational accounting registers. The operational accounting data is accumulated in the general ledger or in the financial accounting registers according to the 1C ERP terminology. We'll discuss the financial accounting register setup. We'll explore the predefined financial accounting model supplied with 1C ERP and learn how to customize it. You'll get acquainted with the accounting entry generation mechanism and how to enter accounting entries manually. You'll also learn the month-end closing procedure performed in the financial accounting registers. Then, we'll see how to create financial reports, taking the SBS Trading and SBS Manufacturing companies as an example. Besides all the mentioned above, we'll talk about the budgeting subsystem. We'll see how to set up budget templates, budget items, and budget indicators, which help to recognize turnover and stock balance. We'll learn how to set up the budget process and tools used to control the budgeting process. We'll consider the mechanisms for budget approval and how to generate budget versus actuals reports. At the end of Stage 3, we will have a look at the business intelligence mechanism, called Target Indicator Dashboard. This is a tool to visualize the performance of the company. We'll define a few KPIs taking the SBS Trading and SBS Manufacturing companies as an example, and learn how to set up the Target Indicator Dashboard and how to use it. Thank you for your attention and see you soon.